Why has Dr. Mamphela Ramphele decided to quit politics? Does this mean the end of Agang SA? Are the small opposition parties in South Africa dissolving into political dust? Can Agang SA exist without Dr. Ramphele's image? What time is it? It's question time. Hello and welcome to the show. My name is Bongikwala Inform Potsedu. Today, Agang SA Chairman Mike Chishonga has been appointed as the acting president until the party convenes its elective congress next year. Agang Deputy Andries Tloyama says Mamphela Ramphele had become a burden and a poison to the party she created. Dr. Mamphela Ramphele and her deputy Andries Tloyama have been at loggerheads over its leadership and finances. Mr. Tloyama has described her departure from active politics as a victory for democracy. Meanwhile, political analysts say the resignation of Ramphele is an indication that small opposition parties in South Africa are disappearing into obscurity. My guest today in our parliamentary studio is Agang SA Deputy President Andries Tloyama. He joins us there, and in studio with me here I have Sichaba Gankosi, who is SABC's senior political reporter. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you, Bongi.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, listeners.
Good afternoon to you, Mr. Tloyama. Let me start with you. You calling the departure of Dr. Mamphela Ramphele as a victory for democracy. What do you mean by that?
What I mean is that Agang now has got a new opportunity to start again. And I also mean that all leaders who endeavor to form new political parties, they must realize from now that citizens or members of that political party have more power than leaders themselves. So that is democracy.
You have the opportunity to start again. I mean, it's only been 12 months, really. Was it a false start for you?
All I'm saying is that we have an opportunity through our new acting president to live our own principles, where we were saying we'll give citizens the power as one of our policies.
Why did Dr. Mamphela Ramphele leave the party?
I can't tell you exactly why. I'm sure she's the person who can respond to that. But what I can tell you is that Agang suffered under her leadership. All
right. And going forward right now, what is going to happen? I mean, she started the party, and surely she will have some kind of entitlement to this party. Now that she's gone, what is going to happen?
That is the problem in Africa, or South Africa in particular. When you form a political party, you are forming a public entity. It's not a CC, it's not an NGO, it's not a corporate. It's an entity that is going to serve the interest of the public. So you are just as ordinary as every member who joined that party, inspired by visions or principles that you preach.
And she failed to do that, in your view?
I think it is on the whole. She betrayed most of us.
Sichaba Nkosi in studio with me here. She betrayed all of them at Agang SA. That's a heavy word, really. What do you make of all this?
Well, I mean, it was difficult for Dr. Ramphele from the time she established Agang to the time she left active politics. I would say personally she was swimming in a lake full of crocodiles, and that's what South African politics are. And she was not going to survive if she did not have grassroots support. My view of Agang is that it was branded and built around an individual. So she became the face of the party, and from there they then went to build structures. And if you do that in South African politics, you are unlikely to survive, because most of these parties that are as powerful as they are today have their structures built from the bottom to the top. Agang did the opposite.
Yeah. And do you think that it was a rushed job? There wasn't enough consultation and consultative forums? I mean, if you look at the United Democratic Movement today of Bantu Olomisa, it started as the National Consultative Forum, and they did that for a long time. This one, do you think it was hurried?
Well, I would say it was, to an extent that my understanding of how Agang was formed is that a group of people came together, wanted to carve a political party, and a party that would be different from any other in South Africa, which was a good message in a way, because they said they were going to put citizens first so that citizens would take active control of the party. But whether those structures existed at the time of the pronouncement is another issue, because from where we are now, it looks like those structures did not exist, which is why when certain decisions were made, those structures felt that they were not consulted, hence the rebellion against Dr. Mamphela started.
And Mr. Tloyama, let me bring you in here really. The consultation even within the party, was it always strong, or you feel that certain decisions were taken without the membership being made aware or even participating in those decisions?
I think we must be very careful. We shouldn't underplay when you are a warrior or you are a founder. Before you can start a political party, you must make a research.
And you feel that Dr. Ramphele didn't do that?
Well, if this is not an issue of structures, it's an issue of a leader who create a culture of knowing that whatever decision that you make, as long as it includes others, you need to talk to them, whether there are structures or not. But I'm not saying Agang did not have structures even when there was a supposed merger of DA. It's humanness is one of leadership qualities for you to understand that talking to people is part of being a leader. So now, if you lack that, it will be very difficult for you to uphold the values of our own constitution the constitution of South Africa and the constitution of the party. So I think this party can still succeed, and it does have a future. And it does have all classes of our country, from the ordinary people, the middle class, the rich, supporting it. This epitomizes what we want in this country, not having political parties defined according to classes. So that is why we have a faith now that with this new leaf, this is a fresh start.
Indeed, it's a fresh start for a 12-month-old organization. We'll come back and discuss this some more. SABC Nkosi with me here in studio, and Mr. Andres Tloyama, who is Agang SA Deputy President. Question time takes a break. Don't go away. Welcome back. You're still watching Question Time. My guest today in studio here in Johannesburg is SABC Nkosi, who is SABC senior political reporter, and Agang SA Deputy President Andres Tloyama, who's joining us from our parliamentary studio. Mr. Tloyama, let me start with you right now. Were you ever at loggerheads with Dr. Mamphela Ramphele, especially yourself?
I'm not going to beat behind the bush. We had challenges, I had challenges with our leader, because my view is we need to practice what we preach. And then my view also is that Agang should be the hope indeed of South Africans. They have suffered too much for them to endure any fake political party.
What kind of challenges? What kind of challenges did you have?
Look, it was indeed very, very hating to see our leader announcing the merger with the DA without us knowing, hearing it in public like anyone else. And then actually that destroyed our relationship. And then the second one was when she chose who must go to Parliament, again without consultation. And the third one was...
Go ahead.
The third one was the appointment of the tax team, called presidential tax team, again also without consultation. So any citizen or any member of any political party, particularly when you are a member of the NEC, such major decisions without consultation, every relationship can be challenged.
And Chaba, really, those three issues, do you get a sense that those are the issues really that broke the camel's back?
Yeah, I think if you can sum up Dr. Mamphela Ramphele's leadership style, I would say she's more of a manager than a leader, because no leader would have taken such decisions without consulting with at least the National Executive Council of the party. And those three decisions and the way they backfired not only affected her, but affected the entire party, so that the party had then to regroup and pronounce on its dissatisfaction with the way in which they were handled. So I think the most important one that basically broke the party was what I call a political suicide, the flirt with the DA.
What was that all about?
No one knows, but from what we gleaned from talking to both Dr. Mamphele and DA leader Helen Zille, is that there had been some talks between them about Dr. Mamphele becoming the party's presidential candidate for the May general elections. And when she accepted, there were things that she also wanted amended, things like that she would still retain her membership of Agang, she would still be the president of Agang, but go on to Parliament as the DA's presidential candidate.
How does that work?
Well, I mean,
in the modern democracy,
one of the persons who actually summed that well was Helen Zille herself. She called it political nonsense, because if for anyone to go to Parliament, they have to be on the list and on the membership of a certain political party. So you can't have membership in two parties and still be expected to be the face. So I think it was a miscalculated risk. It was a risk nonetheless, but very badly miscalculated.
I'll come back to you, Chaba, because there's an issue that I want us to take to discuss really today, where Dr. Mamphela Ramphele is sitting. Do you think she'll have some regrets? But Mr. Tloyama, let me bring you through here. Some are saying, the ANC is saying, for instance, this was a project that was created as an anti-ANC project. Do you agree with that sentiment?
No, I think the ANC forget their own history, that from the 100 years they had splinter groups coming out of them. They changed names. They had good and bad leaders. So I think it's politics itself. When you grow throughout challenges and difficulties. And I want to say, if you look into our history, of course, a very, very small history of 12 months, we had one leader. And I want to say South Africans must congratulate, including the ANC, that we are able to hold our leader accountable. We don't have time to waste. So if we are not happy with you in Agang, irrespective of your standing or status in society, you are just a human being, a member of Agang who must be accountable. If that to them is a project orientated to them and is failing because we don't have any vision, I think that is a wrong interpretation of things.
Are you going to survive this?
We've already survived. Remember, we are talking today and our leader is no more. So
the announcement came only on Tuesday. So it's hardly 24 hours.
But what I can tell you in politics, when a leader resigns, you'll hear groups following, like what happened when people were forming COPE. There were people resign. Right now, I'm telling you, across all provinces, even former members who left Agang because of the DA Agang saga, they are calling, they are saying we are coming back. Because you must remember that people do not understand how missionally we were hurt by that. This leader is not just a business. I want to add, it's not just a business person. She's an activist. Some of us, we were attracted to her on the basis of being there at the time of our heroes like Steve Biko and Benny Pichana and others. So this is a person, is a betrayal, is a leader who betrayed her members. Nothing more. It reflects badly on her. But it doesn't reflect badly on anybody.
Mr. Tloyama, there are factions right now. There's a faction that was led by yourself. There's a faction that followed Dr. Mamphela Ramphele. How are you going to unite these two factions, if at all they will ever come together?
I think it's human nature. Those who are following Dr. Mamphela Ramphele, they must search their soul, they must search their conscience, whether they want to follow justice and the truth, or they just want to die following someone who have committed known mistakes. But be as it may, we are willing to listen, to rebuild, to correct, and to apologize. Because you say, in every battle, there are always victims. But in this party, we'll always care and rehabilitate those victims.
All right, this is question time. Don't go away because we're still going to be discussing the developments at Agang SA. Question time takes a break. Don't go away.
Across the globe, the continent and the entire country, every second there's always a breaking story. SABC News is your reliable eye, ear and information system in bringing you events as they happen. Our cutting-edge and hard-hitting journalism leaves no stone unturned, giving you the whole picture every time. Join us every day on SABC3 and know what is happening around you. SABC News, Africa's news leader.
Welcome back. You are watching Question Time. My guest today is Agang SA Deputy President Andries Tloyama, and I've got here in studio with me Sichaba Gankosi, who is SABC's senior political reporter. Sichaba, let's look at the two factions right now. Then the process of purging might just ensue after this. Do you see that happening? Because those who followed Mamphela Ramphele will feel that she left unceremoniously, and perhaps they might not feel comfortable being part of this new setup.
Well, I mean, they might actually want to be with the new leadership, because what Dr. Ramphele announced as her reasons for resignation, she steered clear of mentioning any of the problems that the party had been facing. She said she's resigning to go back to what she called civil society activism, which is where she said her life has always been. Now, if you take that as it is, it means that she's not casting any aspersions on the current leadership. But
She's probably being diplomatic about it.
Well, yes.
Deep down, she
mean,
might be very angry and regretting this whole project.
That would be the challenge that the new leaders face, because those who supported Dr. Ramphele supported her through thick and thin, if I may say. If you remember, there was a time when Dr. Ramphele dissolved the entire NEC of the party. And the reaction was those people who were disbanded then met to form an interim structure and actually suspended Dr. Mamphele. Then Dr. Mamphele came back and threatened to expel and suspend. In fact, she issued out letters to that effect to those people. And in between those, she then decided to step back from active politics. It tells you that there are fundamental divisions within the party. There are allegiances to both factions. And this leaves the new leaders with the challenge of trying to unite them. Purging them could maybe see us facing another breakaway from Agang. So you would have this continuous breakaways from every party until you're left with basically...
And the ANC will be sitting there and really counting their profits.
Yeah, you'd have these little pockets of opposition in South Africa.
Which is fragmented and weak.
And then the ANC would worry only about the DA. And in the end, you would have in South Africa what Americans have with the Democrats and the Republicans. You would have the same in South Africa as the British have with the Labour Party and the Conservative Party. Two dominant parties who have little support there and there, and then whenever they want to pass any piece of legislation, they go into form temporary or interim coalition so that they can just get that expedited.
All right, Mr. Tloyam, who is in charge of Agang SA right now, and really where to from here for you?
And now we are planning our elective conference for January next year. And then we have decided that our former chairperson, Mr. Chichonga, is going to be our acting president. And I want to say this. We are not going to purge anyone. We are not intending to suspend anyone. We respect those who shared different views from us. So what we are going to do, we are going to facilitate meetings which we need to sit down from now and make sure that we finalize our constitution, that we have learned that power corrupts. So we no longer want to trust individuals. We want to trust the constitution so that whoever is out of the line, we can be able to have mechanisms to deal with that person with immediate effect.
When you say power corrupts, also it might also apply to your interim leader then?
What we want to encourage to Agang and to other political parties or every institution is that South Africa must develop into a situation where we are no longer relying on individuals. Individuals come and go. We must rely on institutions. So the acting leader, now the acting president, Mr. Mike Chichonga, must know that he is going to be the leader of the people, not the leader of himself. And then
Who
when you are a
appointed
leader,
him?
We took the decision on the 29th, Alexander, and then it was anonymous that he must lead as an acting president when we suspended our then president, Dr. Mamphela Ramphele.
So before she announced her stepping down, Dr. Mamphela Ramphele, already you had a leader in place. How do you explain that?
We have lost. Remember, when you are a leader is when you have your fingers on day-to-day business of the party. Since our suspension by then, Dr. Mamphela Ramphele was nowhere involved into political activities of the party. So we only
But how was she running the party then if she was not involved?
I'm saying the time we suspended her.
So she had resigned herself really to not being at the forefront of the party, is what you're saying?
I think the resignation it shows that at least besides the weaknesses that we saw, there was a good conscience in her that, look, maybe it's not the best way to go through the suspension and the disciplinary hearing. The best way is to resign and stay far so that this party can grow.
Were you going to fire her anyway?
I don't want to preempt that, but you see, the mistake that our leader caused us, some people are even saying Agang is full of Christian than SCDP because we managed to forgive her for long.
So I'm asking again, were you going to fire her in any event, even if she didn't step down?
Our wish was justice to prevail. I mean, we felt that members of Agang, as the analyst, sorry to forget the name, said mouthfully.
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Chabang, he said it mouthful, the suicide. I mean, the DA measure was a political suicide. Some of us, we never even thought we can even win a single seat. So that was one of the charge. And I can leave you to complete the rest.
Okay. Sichaba, let's wrap here. Do you think Dr. Mamphela Ramphele will walk away from Agang SA with her image bruised, dented, and when she looks back, really the greatest regrets?
It's sad, actually, when you look at the history that she has. I mean, she comes from the brilliant school of the Black People's Convention. She's been in academia. She was the director at the World Bank. Now she formed a political party, which was her next step, and that came crashing. Whether that affects her other whether that affects her face or her importance in the discourse of South African politics, it remains to be seen. But I think politically, from my side, I think she's finished.
All right, there you have it. Thank you very much. Chabankos is a senior political reporter here at the SABC. We also thank you, Mr. Andres Tloyama, who is Agang SA Deputy President, live from our parliamentary studio. And that was question time for today. A big thank you to our guests and to you for watching the show. We welcome your feedback via email on questiontime@sabc.co.za, or you can tweet us. Our Twitter handle is @questiontime24. From me and the rest of the crew, have yourselves a wonderful time and goodbye.
Who are we, you ask?